Hi, I'm Christa Jacobson, Headmistress of the Budo Ryu. Today I'd like to make a video discussing the annual Budo Ryu Ninjutsu Daikomyosai. The Budo Ryu Ninjutsu Daikomyosai is an annual event that we host the last weekend of every June. This event gives all the students of the Budo Ryu an opportunity to come together and train with like-minded people in the traditions that we have. Now the word Daikomyosai means Major Light Festival, and it's understood as the illumination of light from inside to out. This is where I share with all of my students information, kuden, kata, and I share with them the beauty of this particular art that we're teaching of Budo Ryu Ninjutsu. This isn't just for the Hanbu Dojo students or the students who are in the dojos. This is also for all the solitaire practitioners who are working out of the Budo Ryu Online University. If you're a Budo Ryu student and you're studying Budo Ryu Ninjutsu, this is the opportunity for you to come in and train with me, train with some of the other licensed instructors, and better yourself in this particular art that you're learning. The Budo Ryu means School of the Warrior Way. And when I developed the Budo Ryu back in 2004, I never thought that it was going to be this big. I never thought that I would have an online university with people training in these methods of Budo Ryu Ninjutsu all throughout the world. I never thought I'd have some people that would gain enough rank and experience to open up their own schools, throughout the world. People flying in from other countries to come in and train with me. I never thought it was going to be this big, and it's truly humbling. I'm so honored that I have so many people that train in these methods of Budo Ryu Ninjutsu, and they're dedicating themselves to this particular art. And this is why we have the annual Daikomyosai. So all of the students, whether it's Hanbu Dojo, other dojos, students in the online university who are solitaire practitioners, the Daikomyosai is the moment where all of us can come together as a big martial family, study these particular methods, and really get deeper into the teachings and the essence of what it is that we're training for. Now when I developed the Budo Ryu back in 2004, I did it by creating the Goho no Keiko, or the 5 areas of training within our school. The first area of training is called the Nanamusha Den, or the 7 warrior traditions. These are the 7 traditions that we dedicate ourselves to, and it gives the students a sense or a connection to the past. These are the traditional arts of the ancient samurai and ninja. The second area of training is called Gendai Henka Waza. These are all the modern variation techniques. For every kata that they learn that's from one of our traditional schools, they have to learn a modern technique based off the traditional kata. That way my students can learn not just what it was like in the 15th century, but how to apply it now, how to make it work on the streets today. And I think that's very important. You got to know where you come from, but you also got to know how you can use it in the time that we live. The third area of training is called Hojo Endo, or Supplemental Training. This is the physical conditioning, the sparring, the grappling, the resistance and strength training, the cardiovascular training, the skin and bone conditioning, survival training, going out and learning how to survive in the woods. All this supplemental training goes into Hojo Endo, and this is a very critical part of training because if you don't have the physical skills and the ability to be able to pull off the techniques that you're learning, then you just physically can't do it. So you have to strengthen your body, your mind, and your spirit. You've got to do the strength conditioning, the cardiovascular conditioning. You got to spar. You got to get out in nature, work with nature, learn how to survive off the land. All of these skills that we see in Hojo Endo or the supplemental training, these are the skills that are needed to make all the other areas of the Goho no Keiko work. The fourth area of training is called Seshiteki Kyoyo, spiritual refinement. This is where we really dig deep into the spiritual aspects of Budo Ryu Ninjutsu. Now all of my students and supporters know that when you're studying Seshiteki Kyoyo, you understand that when you're under a black belt, when you're not quite a black belt student, Seshiteki Kyoyo is more of history lessons, kuden, hiden, a lot of student questions and answers. Really get in touch with the history and tradition of what it is the ancient ninja and samurai did. And you have to learn the tradition. You have to learn that historical knowledge so that you know where you're going to go spiritually. So once you hit black belt, Seshiteki Kyoyo then becomes a different concept. But under black belt, historical ninjutsu and historical samurai bujutsu and learning the history and tradition of these warrior arts is very important. But this section is much bigger than just a history lesson. Spirituality, connection to nature, understanding energy, the energy that you give off, the energy that you receive, going out in nature and connecting to all the elements around you, chakra. There are many different things that we study within this particular aspect of training, and it's a very important aspect within the Budo Ryu. The fifth area of training is called the Nihon Mushukyu, or the study of the Japanese warrior. This is where I share with my students some of the ancient texts or historical ninjutsu manuals and dinsho that I have collected throughout my years of training. Some of the more common texts that we study from is the Bansen Shukai, the Ninpa-den, the Shoninki. Our school is really big with the Bansen Shukai. And this is great because my students get to see sources of authentic ninjutsu that are outside of the 7 traditions. They get to see what other people have written about authentic historical ninjutsu and see those words, study those particular methods, and then they actually get to see that concept, these techniques, fit with the 7 traditions. And studying the scrolls is very important. Many people know, all my students and supporters know that I'm a collector of ancient scrolls and dinsho, and I have hundreds of scrolls and dinsho that I share with my students. And this is an opportunity for my students to see this historical knowledge and take that knowledge and apply it to their particular skill or martial craft. Now, as you can see, we have these 5 areas of training, and each of these 5 areas of training have 7 sub-levels. If you would like to have more information about the Goho no Keiko and the different sub-levels of training, please check out our website at Budo Ryu Ninjutsu.com, click where it says Goho no Keiko, and it's a much more detailed as to what exactly is taught in each of the 5 areas of training. But what I find interesting that the students find is each of these 5 levels of training within the Budo Ryukai, each one of those 5 sections are representative of an element. And those elements, it's like it becomes full circle. So you start out by training in the Nanamusha Den, or the 7 traditions, and then you start learning these classical kata, and then you start learning the Gendai Henka Waza, the variations, the modern techniques that are based off of the traditional kata. And then you're developing your mind, you're sparring, you're grappling, you're working on your skin and bone conditioning, you're developing your heart and lungs to become much stronger, you're learning survival techniques, and all of this is happening as you're developing the kata, and you're learning how to apply it in the world that we live. And then all of that becomes around the circle, and then you're learning spiritual refinement, or seshi teki kyoyo. So you really dig on the inside of your body and make yourself stronger from the inside out, not just from the outside in, so that you get a totally different concept of training. And then as this particular method of the Goho no Keiko starts to circle around and you start to learn more kata, you run into this last section of the Nihon Mushukyu, which then you start studying the scrolls. And it's not just, Togakure Ryu says this, Tomo Ryu says this, Gyoko Ryu says this, Tenjin Ryu says this. You start to see the historical documents, the Bansen Shukai, the Ninpa-den, the Shoninki, or whatever scroll and dinsho that we're working with. But you get to see the words that are written by real ninja, real samurai, and you can take that knowledge and you can see how it directly fits back into the kata, which gives you a deeper understanding of where these arts came from. And then you learn more kata, more modern techniques, you develop your skills higher to be able to push yourself harder in Hojo and Do. You've dug deeper inside, so your seshi teki kyoyo skills become much greater, your aura, your chakra becomes stronger, and then you learn more scrolls and more information from the scrolls. And this circle of training keeps going on, and it keeps going through all of the levels of the Budo Ryukai. And that's what makes Budo Ryu Ninjutsu so beautiful, because when I created it, I didn't want to have an art that was stagnant. I didn't want to say, here are the kata, learn the kata, you get a belt. I wanted something that evolves. I wanted something that had constant change. And this circle is very important to understand, because when you look at a circle, there's no point. It's a constant circle. There's a constant flow. And that constant flow, this is very representative of the school. There is no limit to what you can achieve when studying Budo Ryu Ninjutsu. The name of the school, Budo Ryu Ninjutsu, I think that's also very important to understand too, because we look at the first 2 kanji, Budo, and Budo is very commonly understood as the way of the warrior, the warrior way. And but then you get that 3rd kanji, Ryu, and so Budo Ryu. And when you get to that 3rd kanji, a lot of people take that particular kanji, Ryu, and they translate it as school. And in the modern concept, it's not exactly correct, but it is what people seem to use when they define the word Ryu. And it isn't just English-speaking countries that do this. There are other schools, even in Japan, that use the word Ryu, and then they put in English school of. So Budo Ryu, school of the warrior way. But that same kanji can also be read as nagare, and that word nagare means flow. And I think that's very important, because when you understand flow, that means there has to be movement. If movement stops, it isn't a flow. So looking at the philosophical aspect of Budo Ryu, you understand that it could be read or seen as, from the common eye, school of the warrior way, where a practitioner of the Budo Ryu Kai, a practitioner here, they would see this as flowing through the warrior way. Like I said, I developed the Budo Ryu Kai back in 2004, so it was over 10 years ago when I developed the school and this particular curriculum. And the students come into the Budo Ryu Kai and they learn the martial art called Budo Ryu Ninjutsu. And Budo Ryu Ninjutsu is my experience, my research, and my training. And I've taken all of my experience, all of my training, and my constant research in the arts, and I mean constant research in the arts, and I've applied that into this particular method of Budo Ryu Ninjutsu. And that is really what Budo Ryu Ninjutsu is. Budo Ryu Ninjutsu is my expression. It's my method that I teach of ancient samurai and ninja warfare. The Daikomyosai is an annual event that we host at the end of every June. It's the last Friday, Saturday of every June. And it's held right here at the Budo Ryu Kai Hanbu Dojo. If any of you are interested in attending any of the Budo Ryu Kai events, please check out our website at budoryuninjutsu.com. Click the events tab, and all the events that we're hosting at that particular year will be listed on that page. There you can click the link, and all the information that you need to attend that particular event will be right there on that page. Thank you guys very much for all of your love and support. I deeply appreciate it, and I'm truly honored. Thank you.